what is our audience really responding to, and what can we kind of focus on for the rest of the year that will serve them and attract the most attention in a good way? Welcome back to our YouTube channel. I'm Christine Baird. I'm the owner of Worthwhile Media. I'm sitting in our studios in Salt Lake City. And this video is about halfway through the year. We're entering June of 2023. And I always think halfway through the year, hey, what's working and what do we need to shift as far as it goes with media strategy? We make podcasts and YouTube shows for personal brands. That's what our company does. We're a production house. And so it's easy to spend the first half of the year, the winter and the spring, just churning and creating and doing the work, right? That's kind of energetically what a lot of people are doing in media creation online in the first half of the year. And then summer hits and everyone wants a break. I want a break, like that's normal. We're mammals, we want to take a break. And I am all about it, but I think it's so worth it. And this is why we do sort of a summer check-in with all of our clients who have ongoing shows or always on shows, is to say, hey, like let's take a second and think about and look at the statistics and analyze our data. What is our audience really responding to, and what can we kind of focus on for the rest of the year that will serve them and attract the most attention in a good way? So I'm inviting you to do what we're doing with all of our clients this month, to do a check-in, whether you're a show host yet or not, and think through whatever content you're making, but I'm going to talk about podcasts and YouTube shows. How do we break down the data and also our own observations and anecdotal evidence as to like what these audiences are paying attention to, what they're asking for, and what they want more of? Because really, as a show host, your primary goal is to be serving your audience what they want to see and hear. Yes, you might be making a show for a lot of other reasons, like networking and building thought leadership and creating a bunch of great digital assets online that represent you and your beliefs and your thoughts and your wisdom. But as a show host, if we're just talking about being a show host, that's what your goal is to make more content that your audience wants to see and hear. So let me talk you through what we'll be covering with our clients over the next month. First off, we're going to look at the core data. We're actually going to look at the downloads per episode. We're going to look at like trends over time, monthly. Are our shows growing? Are they diminishing? Are they staying the same? Are there any outlier episodes that did really well or did really poorly? We're also obviously on YouTube going to be looking at views. We're going to be looking at comments, and we're going to be looking at watch time. So YouTube is pretty awesome in that sense for a show host because there's way more data available. Podcasts are pretty limited in their data. There's a lot of privacy around podcast data because it's coming from third-party apps like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And so there's pretty limited data about what you can see. Really, all you can see is like your downloads and maybe a little bit of like where people are listening in the world and time of day. So on the podcast side, you're really just looking at your download trends, and you're looking for connections between the topics that you covered and any special things that stand out. That might be a guest, that might be a topic, that might be a series. So that's what you're going to look at on the podcast side. And on the YouTube side, similar, but your metrics you're viewing are a little different. You're looking at your view count, you're looking at your watch time, and you're looking at comments. And so that's what you're going to look at first, the data. It's very helpful, and it's pretty unbiased. Data's really helpful as a show host because it's not your perception of what's doing well or what people are responding to. It's actual numbers. Like, this is how many people clicked play on this episode. That doesn't tell the whole story, but it's a really important place to start, because when you're looking at like 6 months worth of episodes and videos and media that you've made, it's kind of hard to hold all that in your head. So the data is a great place to start. Secondly, I like to review with all of our clients, like sort of what I call the anecdotal or like their own perception of what really is landing. So that might come from comments that were made directly to them through friends, in person, text messages, emails, DMs on Instagram. Like, what did they get the most feedback about? Because that's like, you can't really track that unless the other person getting all the messages. So it's something that I really have to look to our clients and their teams to be like, hey, where did you get the most feedback? The most unsolicited commenting? Like what episodes drew the most for there? And were there any episodes that caused a big stir, like controversially speaking, or like people really didn't like it? Oh my gosh, I thought my battery on my audio recorder went out. So that's very helpful because one, it's coming from people that you actually can identify. It's not just like a random download number. So you have a little more context for who's listening and maybe a little bit more of their story. And it's very helpful because you can trust that if people took the time to reach out to you with a bit of feedback about an episode or a video, there's a bunch more people who thought the same thing and didn't reach out, right? Like we all know this. Like most of the time you don't comment on something that you were impacted by. Most of the time you keep it to yourself or maybe you tell a friend, but you don't usually take the time to write a note to the host of the show who created that piece of content. So if you were getting messages about an episode or a video, you know that there's a lot of other people who were also impacted who just didn't reach out. So that's really helpful data that's not just like objective third-party numbers, is to think about like, where did we get the most feedback? And it might be through people who know you and it might be, not, but I never want to gloss over that because podcasts and YouTube videos are very intimate forms of media in that you get to share, as the show host, you're sharing a lot of your own thoughts or feelings or conversations, and people get to feel like they were sitting right there with you during that time, and they weren't, so it's kind of one-sided, but it feels very intimate for the viewer or the listener. And so when they are willing to share notes with you, it's because it actually impacted them. And that's gold, to pay attention to like what actually impacted my audience to the point that they like sent me a note or made a comment. So that's invaluable. And then thirdly, once you've looked at your just kind of data analytics and then your anecdotal feedback, then I like to dive in with each of our show hosts around what are they noticing, some general trends in their space. What are the conversations that are hot or happening that they know their audience is going to be thinking about for the next 6 months? So it's a little bit of trend forecasting, which isn't really challenging if you know your space well, like you know what people are talking about, right? But it's well worth it halfway through the year to kind of do a check-in and just strategically say like, what's being talked about right now? Not like the thing that happened over the weekend that's maybe like short-lived and viral, but like, what are we talking about that's probably what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the year? That's like a developing story, you could say, whether that's, a concept, or it's an actual habit or a new tool. Like, for example, I work in the podcast industry, so the big thing right now is AI, and people are gonna be talking about AI for sure through the rest of the year. Like, that's a bigger topic than just like a trend or a viral moment. So a lot of the stuff that you're gonna be hearing me talk about for the rest of the year on our YouTube channel is about using AI to be a better show host and to build into your production. Like, that's what's up. So we're gonna talk about it. And it's interesting, it is a developing story. There's updates constantly. Let's say you work in the fitness industry, whatever is kind of coming out or being discussed or being experimented with is going to be interesting to your audience for the foreseeable 6 months. And so that's the most important thing, is to pay attention to what are the questions and what are the interesting things happening in my space that I know my audience is going to be wanting to hear me talk about over the rest of the year. And then make a plan for your content, for your episodes, for your videos. Like, plan out a rough outline. Like, every month or every 2 weeks, I'm going to make sure to cover some element of this general topic because I know that's going to be relevant and important and interesting and helpful to my audience. And that's really all you need to do at a 6-month check-in. Like, yes, take a break and take a breather and get outside and like enjoy the summer. That's so important. It's so important to recharge creatively and as a human being. Like, we're not machines and we can't just like produce forever, especially as a show host. It's a big energetic output. So I absolutely am a huge fan of taking a season break. And if the summer is a downtime for you, amazing, go for it. Maybe it's not. Maybe the summer is your like most creative time, and that's great. But either way, I'm all about doing the mid-year check-in, looking at your data, looking at your feedback, and then thinking about and strategically planning out the rest of your year, specifically around the topics that you know your audience wants to hear about. And that's really like a strategic plan for the year. Like, you don't have to get crazy more detailed than that in your show host strategy. I think you've heard me say this before. Podcasting and YouTubing is best kind of taken in 6-month chunks, because a lot of your biggest trends won't really reveal themselves until a few years. And so if you get too micro about like looking at the trends in your show, it can kind of get you off on the wrong perspective. Like, you can hyper focus on the wrong thing. It's better to look at like 6-month chunks of data to kind of see what's going on and make plans for the next 6 months. So that's my offering for you today in this video. We're going to be doing this with our clients at Worthville Media. You're welcome to do it for your own show. And if you don't have a show yet, but you know you want to start one, now is a really great time to do some of the same, like do the second half of what I said. Obviously, you don't have data to look at, but think about the questions you get most often from people, or when you maybe speak or write or post on social media, like what does generate the most conversation in your space? What are people asking you about? What is the chatter in your industry that's going to be chatted about for the next 6 months? That's a really good place to get ideas for your show topics and your ideas. And obviously, take our show host quiz if you haven't yet. The link is below the video. It's 30 seconds, and it's a super helpful way as a personal brand to figure out what kind of show host you're naturally sorted to be, because that's a really great place to start if you don't have a show yet, or you're wanting to sort of reinvent your show and get off on the right foot. I will see you in the next episode.